Welcome to Coach's Corner for West Tigers TV. I'm your host, Rob Bashara. With me, as always, is Adel Hage in Queensland. Adel, how you doing tonight, mate?
Yeah, obviously a little bit disappointed over after another loss this week, but we go again.
We should rename this maybe to something else instead of Coach's Corner, mate. Maybe like Coroner's Report or something like that. But look, let's just get straight into it, mate. I want to get these tries out of the way because it's pretty ugly. We had a big loss again yesterday, and it started pretty early, Adele. After 4 minutes, Kohler scores a try off a sort of a miss kick or smother from Taylor May, where he received a pass from Jerome Luai, surprisingly, on the last tackle. And Kohler goes and beats three players. He beats Taruva, he beats Mason, he beats Madden, goes over. And, after 5 minutes, we're down 6-0. I guess that was obviously some broken play there, but, it was very unusual for Jerome to go short side on the last tackle when Jock looked free on the open side to put a kick in.
Yeah, I think the indicator was that Hamoli was stuck at dummy half, so I think Jerome thought there was something down the short side that there wasn't. I think from Taylor May's perspective, it's good presence of mind to actually know that he needed to kick the ball. The kick was a shank. Not ideal from that perspective, but then it was pathetic defence off the back of that. I mean, I don't care who it is, unless it's Greg Inglis and he's at his absolute best. That some of that defence on that right edge there after on the kick chase, that's just pathetic, to be honest. So, that's just a really poor start, and it sets the standard pretty early for the afternoon, doesn't it?
It certainly does. A few minutes later, Manly bombed another try where a pass came off Olakawadu's hand. It looked like either Olakawadu or Garrick, who was going to pass it on to Saab, was going to score, so we dodged a bullet there. But in the 10th minute, Garrick gets outside Taylor May, commits Luke Lauliti to him, offloads to Jason Saab, and he goes 50 metres, beats Heath Mason in the process and scores. And, suddenly it's looking like it's going to be a big cricket score. Can you break down that try, Del? I could be wrong. Like, I know wingers are told to stay connected to their centre, but I think in that case, Luke's got to trust Taylor to make the tackle on Garrick, and if he doesn't, so be it, because if you're just going to give the fastest bloke in rugby league a few metres, you're not ever going to cover him in any situation there.
Well, there's two facets to it, and the first part is if you go back to the play the ball, where the ball is played, I mean, it's basic fundamental fullback plays to know your numbers, and Heath Mason gets that completely wrong. We have 5 players to our open side and 5 players on a narrow, or it's not a narrow, it's 60% of the field open side, which usually means you get 6 players that side. And then there's on the 40% side, you get 4 players. We had 5 and 5 split. And that is a cardinal sin from a fullback's perspective to get your numbers right. So he's got that incredibly wrong. And at the moment you do that, you're automatically in big trouble. And it was good ID from, I think it was Jamal, to ID that from Manly's perspective. And they basically shifted the ball. It was really poor defence from Luke, but that's the sort of stuff that you sort of get with him. And I talked about this earlier in the year, that he's going to have to learn these lessons the hard way in regards to his, in particular, his spacing around his connection to his centre. But I completely agree with you. I mean, in that situation there, the rule of thumb is you basically stay, you slide, you keep your spacings consistent unless your inside man communicates for you to come in and help. And at no stage did Taylor do that, you could tell, because he actually ends up making the tackle. But, that's just an experience from Luke. But, it all started from getting our numbers wrong from the play the ball, which is a cardinal sin.
So Garrick makes a conversion, Adele. That makes it 12-0 after 10 minutes. Then from the kickoff, Terrell May's put on report for contact to the head of Bullymore with his shoulder. He's on report. I haven't seen the charge sheet or anything like that in terms of this, Adele. Will he get suspended, or is he on report?
No, he won't get suspended, mate. We just cop these sort of decisions every single time. I mean, nearly every kickoff has these sort of collisions, and nothing is made of it, but it is what it is.
Shortly after, in the 15th minute, Sione Fainu loses a ball just in the tackle, getting up to play the ball. From the scrum, Hopewadi scores, and the kick is converted, and we're down 18-0 after 16 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think they scored from the scrum. I think it was a couple of plays after the scrum. But basically what happens is it's how do I say this in a respectful way? It was New South Wales Cup defence on our right edge, basically, and partially I blame Patrick Herbert because when you're 35 metres out, you shouldn't be making the decision he made. And Manly obviously had ID'd the fact that he loves the jam, and he almost does it just, it's a premeditated decision that he's making every single time. And they run what you call a tunnel ball. So the ball went past the sweep runner, got it straight to the centre. It was a pretty basic 2-on-1 for the winger. Now, even though Herbert shouldn't be doing that, the moment he does do that, Taruva's actually got to come and jam with him, which he doesn't do, which means that, like I said, they get that easy 2-on-1. But that's, to be honest with you, Rob, that is such amateur type defense on our edge there. Like at no state, there's no danger for you to even jam in there from Patrick Herbert's perspective. We have the numbers. We have a lot of grass behind us to be able to even want to be passive defensively and just give them the room to play. And we just make a tackle. It's shortcuts. It's New South Wales Cup type defense, and yeah, it's just not good enough at this level.
Well, after about, I think it was 21 or 22 minutes, the West Tigers finally got tackled on Manly's end of the field with the ball. And shortly after that, Luke Lauliti scored a really nice try off a pretty decent backline shape. Adel, do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, all we've ever heard is how critical we are of our red zone attack, but it's, I think it was a pretty selfish play at the start from Tristan Hope from dummy half. We just run a basic two-man block shape on the back of our two halves. Jerome does a good job to square up I think he squares up our back rower. It might have been the back rower, Ethan Roberts, on their two-man, which gives the ball to Taylor, and it's really good skill from Taylor to catch and pass basically in one motion for Lauliti to finish pretty well in the corner. He's turned into a really good finisher when he gets his opportunities, when he's got a bit of momentum. So, yeah, it was a positive turnaround from our perspective after that first, what was it, 20 minutes, 25 minutes?
Yeah, 25 minutes or so. Jock Madden actually makes a conversion, so we're down 18-6. And then in the 33rd minute, Faulolo scores a try. It was basically a Fogarty offload or Fogarty passes, I should say, to Olakawadu, who gets his arms free through the line, offloads to Faulolo, and he scores a try. And Garrick converts, and they make it 24-6. It looked really simple, Adele, but in this case, I mean, Olakawadu's got to be one of the hardest men in league to tackle. Like it's easy to be critical, but it just did look too easy.
Yeah, absolutely, it did. And at the end of the day, if you go back and you watch that, I would have loved to have thought that there was a bit more emphasis on knowing that you almost sell out to everybody else, and you have a bit more of attention to Hamoli in that situation. And I think Jerome was a little bit interested in what was going on the inside. Sort of Hamoli hits the inside shoulder of Taylor in that situation, so that obviously means we'd been penetrated through their ball movement through the middle. They did a pretty good job. I'm trying to just bring it back up again in front of me. They did a good job. They did a good job to sort of play. It's almost like forward type play where they go sort of an out the back play to a forward, which looks like just a normal carry, but then they play second phase block shape off the back of it, which sometimes means those edge man, and especially the 4-man, wants to come in and help a little bit, and they get us on the outside of Jerome, which is our 3-man. It's good manly shape. It's good manly attack, but at the end of the day, I think Jerome's contact's got to be a little bit more stronger there on his outside shoulder. But yeah, Hamoli's a class player, isn't he?
Adele, I just mentioned on Claws Out podcast that when Faulolo scores that try, you've got Garrick and Saab with like absolutely no one on them. Like they literally stripped us of 2 extra players. And that was a common theme for the rest of the day. And we'll get into more tries. And there were plenty more in the second half for Manly down that right side. What is, in your opinion, the cause that we get stripped so easily? That left side was meant to be our strength. With Jerome, with Taylor there. Is it, because of different back rowers, whether it was Seyfarth or Roberts, or like what is causing us to just be so stripped so easily of numbers where we might do it occasionally in a game, but Manly were doing it at will?
It was first of all, it was Manly's attack, and like I said to you, it was a different picture today that they presented to us. Like I said, it was a block shape for a middle forward coming out the back in the middle of the field. So the moment you do that, you can't defend it like normal backline shape, because when a front row is coming to carry through the middle, well, you can't leave. It was Tristan Hope in that situation isolated. So it sort of means everyone's got to sink to make sure we make solid contact. But Brown's got that ability to be able to play a second phase block shape off the back of it, which he does really, really well, to their third middle. So it's, to be fair, it's really good Manly attack, and it's probably Manly attack that we weren't prepared for. And we sort of, I don't know, like it's. I've never seen them run that shape. They normally run it sometimes with Jake Trebojevic, but he's the guy that catching the ball just off a two pass. So it's a little bit of a different type of variation that Manly ran this week that we obviously hadn't seen or hadn't prepared for, and they were able to strip us really well. So we obviously want to put expectations on ourselves to defend it better, but in that particular play, I'm going to say I think Manly's attack and their shape was high quality, to be honest.
With a couple of minutes left in the first half, we got a penalty, I think, for a Manly player being in front of the play the ball. What do you call that, a sleeper or something like that?
Just out of play,
out of play sort of thing. And we had a set, and I think we actually got a 6 again as well while we were in the red zone. Adel, we looked quite sort of disorganised there, and I think we'd been in the same position against Melbourne last week at 20-4. It just looked like players sort of didn't know where they should be and what was going on. And a couple of times Jerome got the ball where his players had overrun him or there was nothing on, and he'd have to stop and go back to the right. I mean, does that just come on the players, Adel? Does it come on the coaches? What does it come on? Does it come on the fact that we got too many new players in every week? I mean, I know they've only got a few days to prepare, but that's an opportunity to get back in the game. We do end up getting a penalty, and we go to halftime 24-8 with a Jock Madden penalty goal, but that was an opportunity to get 6 points and get back to within, 2 converted tries, and I just felt everything broke down, whatever we tried there.
Well, it's two parts to it from my end. First of all, I'm going to point to our number 9, partially his own fault, but secondly to that, it's just you can't expect him to be uppy in that situation. The other part I'm going to say is Grant Atkins allowed Manly to spoil us. Manly are not a stupid football team. They're a very high-Q team. They knew there was a minute to go. They spoiled that set of 6. They laid there. They were happy to give away whatever they needed to give away. They were coming off their line offside. The only reason he gave that penalty is because the play broke down. He was happy to let us play, but the reality is they knew what they were doing that whole set of 6. So that's why, I mean, you can bring me Penrith. We've seen Penrith at times. When teams try to spoil Penrith, you can stop them from attacking. So it was spoiling tactics from Manly, and they let them get away with it. Brian Totto's in for Penrith, by the way. So
Congratulations.
scoreline now is no, it's first try, 22-6. But that so that's spoiling tactics. But second to that, and it's the really important thing for us to understand. I know we're going to talk about changes and personnel later. When your 9 gives no threat to the opposition and the opposition doesn't fear them, it just means that teams A and B defenders can be a little bit more loose and a little bit more aggressive towards the outside. And when we don't have uppy playing, it just means teams are able to defend us a little bit easier. That's why.
But at the same time, they've got Docker Clay. Like, they don't have a hooker that's of any note. Like, why does it work for Manly and not for us? Is it just that Docker Clay is that much better than Hope? I mean, it's literally their third choice hooker at the moment.
It's not so much about who, it's about what. Our system is uppy. That's the difference. Our whole game is built around our number 9. Their whole game is built around their power, around their edges, and around their shape, and around, I don't know, like their outside backs and their speed. That's where they sort of see their strengths. Whereas us, it's all about our 9. Everything is about uppy. Everything we do is about our 9.
Okay, let's get to the second half of it. Or before we get on the second half, is there anything you want to mention for the first half, or how you summarise that, or what you were thinking going into halftime?
Yeah, Grant Atkins did a good job to put Manly way ahead of us. He did really well.
It's unlike you to blame the refs, mate.
I don't blame the refs. I'm just telling you they're incompetent at the moment.
Okay, second half, well, I guess it all sort of went wrong when Luke dropped a ball in a tackle from a hit-up, rucking it from our own line, And from the ensuing set, Olakau'atu scores. He scores pretty easily. He goes through Hunt and Mason. Again, I know he's a hard body to stop, but you'd think with, Royce Hunt there in particular, with a bit of help from anyone, they might have been able to withhold him from going over the line.
Yeah, and I'll go a step back. I mean, you talked about the error, and this is the sort of stuff that I've been watching our press conferences, and this is where I'm gonna start, Rob, having a crack. I mean, we want to blame people. Want to start blaming Benji. People want to obviously, no matter what happens, the West Tigers can get a player injured, and Jerome Luai is getting blamed at the moment. But how can you? You can. It doesn't matter what football team you are, whether you're the Broncos today, you're Penrith, you're the Bulldogs, you're Parramatta, you're the bloody Melbourne Storm, who lost 7 in a row. If you are making basic fundamental errors, it doesn't matter who you've got in your team and how good you're going and what they're getting paid. You are not going to win football games, and that's what we're doing at the moment. That's the sort of stuff at times when we lost some games early in the year. That's what we're doing, just basic fundamental errors that they're unforced, really. And that's what we're doing at the moment. Now, on the same token, some of them we're doing, and we're probably not getting rewarded for, things that are happening the other way. There was one in the game yesterday where we got penalised. I think it was Latu got penalised for a strip, and it went to we
We
challenged
challenged
it.
it. Yep, I've got that in my notes.
There was absolutely no strip, and so there's parts where I sit there and go, well, everyone wants to talk about our discipline and everyone wants to talk about their drop balls, and I'm going to be critical of that. But at the same time, well, we're not getting any bounces of the ball or any calls going our way. Even in situations where we're challenging things, we're doing the right thing, and you can clearly say there's no strip, and they're saying it's inconclusive. So I think there's that part to put into it as well. But then we also have guys who are just not up to it, Rob. They're not first graders. They never have been first graders. They're guys that if I'm a part of a Queensland Cup setup at the moment. They probably wouldn't be in our first starting 13 in Queensland Cup.
Well,
I don't say that lightly.
That's pretty harsh.
Well, I'm not being harsh. I'm being honest. I'm being realistic. I mean, I don't think these guys are playing first grade at any other club. And it's not their fault, and it's not the club's fault, to be honest, because at the end of the day, what you've got is you've got a salary cap, and you've got to manage that cap, and you've got to manage it within your means. And you're going to need these sort of guys who are on absolute basic minimum, which a lot of these guys are on, your Tristan Hopes and your Heap Masons. These guys are on the bare minimum. But can you get a balance of a squad where you're trying to attract players like we have been over the last 3 or 4 years, have to pay a little bit extra, which means you've got to take a little bit off that bottom end player, which means you're going to have to pay guys who are probably not first graders.
Yeah, fair enough. In the 50th minute, the goalpost saved a certain 6 points. Simkin put a grubber kick. 2 Manly players were flying through. Should have been a try, but luckily the goalpost saved us. And I think there are a number of occasions in that second half where Manly blew a couple of tries. I remember one in particular with Saab flying down the wing and kicking an hour too early when he had men coming up in support. Later on in the game, it would have been about the 54th minute, Jerome Luai loses the ball in a tackle, and then from the ensuing set, Saab scores a try. I think Faulolo, I should say, does a really nice face ball. Just simple strip of players. Luke jams in, and he's got an open run to the line, and I think he runs around and improves his position.
I think Taylor jammed.
Excuse
me. My cough's back. I think Taylor jammed. Again, Manly ran a different type of shape. They ran a shape where they run a drop runner with a lead off the half at the 3-man, which you don't see that in the modern day. Like, they are, let's tip our hat to Manly a little bit. And obviously they've been really good over since basically Seabold got sacked. They were running some quality attack yesterday, and that one in particular, I sit there and I tip my hat to it. Taylor and jams, which he probably shouldn't do. I don't think, especially with that much room. But again, it's the same rule I said with Taruva in the first half. If your center jams, Luke's got to come with him a bit earlier, and he doesn't do that. But again, good execution from Faulolo to get the ball to Saab, and Saab's speed means he finishes well in the corner.
Garrick finally misses a conversion, so that leaves it at 34-6. Then in the 58th minute, let's talk about this, Adel. I know we've got differing opinions on this, no matter how minor it is. The Mason sin binning when Fogarty made a break, and I just want to say that play that got Fogarty into the hole, that was magnificent Manly play. There was some really good connectivity through about 4 different players before he made that break. He puts a kick through. He's never going to get there because Luke Brooks is in front of him, but Mason sticks his arm out. As minimal as it is, it is a penalty in my opinion, a penalty at least, and therefore if it's a penalty, it's a sin bin in my eyes because it is a professional foul. But how do you see it?
I see it that it was the West Tigers and Ashley Klein was the video referee, so the result was never going to be anything other than what it was. Look, the reality of it is it's a penalty and it's nothing else. That's the truth. It was never a professional foul because it was very minimal. He doesn't grab at him. He sticks his arm out, which at the end of the day, he's actually entitled to do. I mean, you're a player. You're on the field. You can stick your arm out at any time. He didn't try to grab the guy. He didn't try to tackle the guy. All he did was put his arm out, and it was the most minimal of contact. So, if you want to give a penalty, fine, give a penalty. But the moment it was a sin bin, well, it was an absolute joke. I mean, today we've seen it in the Broncos game. Ezra Man makes a break, gets his leg pulled, and Ashley Klein decides to go 6 to go, not sin bin. He just picks and chooses, and he just doesn't like us. It's simple.
But isn't it fair? I know, but my point is, I think once it's a penalty, it has to be deemed a professional foul because you're trying to stop the person.
No, I've seen situations. I've seen situations in the past where they've ruled out sin bin because of how far away it was. There was no threat of a try, and there's no penalty try. I've seen it happen before multiple times.
Fair enough.
So it's pick and choose, really.
All right. Well, at that stage, we're down to 12 men. Manly are camped on our line. I think they get a 6 again. And then former West Tiger Taniela Paseka, who Justin Pascoe decided we'd let go after he scored 2 tries in Toyota Cup, goes over for a try, barges through Hope and Roberts under the post, and that's converted, makes it 40-6. What do you say about that defence there, mate? It's just not first grade, is it?
That's New South Wales Cup. I mean, they're the type of tries you see in New South Wales Cup.
Yeah, fair enough. Mate, not long later, Saab gets his hat-trick. This one might have been the Faulolo face ball, or he probably did that a few times actually in the game. And that made his hat-trick, and yeah, we got to 46-6, and yeah, it was looking pretty ugly.
Yeah, and that's typical of the modern game where, once your confidence gets shot, it's very hard to come back from that. And I think that's basically what happened to us. I mean, I've got my opinions about it all at the moment, but the reality is we're so far down on confidence, and that's because of personnel, and it's not easy. I mean, like I said to you before, these guys are human beings. It's like each and all of us. If you're in your work environment and the most important people at work aren't there and they're not there, you turn around and you're doing your job, but those people that you normally rely on aren't there. As much as you want to help the guys around you, you want to get the job done. You're never going to get the job done as best as you can. So it is what it is.
Okay, just a couple of things of note for the rest of the half. There were a few more tries that we'll talk about, but 65th minute, we challenge a Herbert knock-on. It was clearly a knock-on, and obviously that goes against us. 72nd minute, Taylor May gets injured. Absolutely huge for us. You could see he was, anguishing in pain and flicks that ball out, and he came off probably a minute later. Taylor May, mate, that's going to be a massive loss.
It's going to be a huge loss. At the end of the day, it's just the reality of what it is now. It's almost one of those things that, as hard as this is to say, if he's out for the year, it sort of gives you a bit more clarity and you understand what the situation is and you can plan around it. But, yeah, it's just got to be something that I'm sure the coaching staff are going to spend this week figuring out what the plans are going ahead. They'll have as much information as they need to have pretty immediately, and I think that they'd want to come up with a plan for the rest of the year and what that looks like. I've got a bit of an idea what I'd do, but yeah, it was going to be interesting to see what they do.
Do you want to share that now, or do you want to share that later?
We'll share it later.
We'll share it later.
I'm sure you're going to ask me. You're going to ask me. I mean, I know what I'd do next week, but that's something I'm sure we'll chat about a little bit later.
Okay. 75th minute. It's actually a really good try to Gerald Skelton. Something we always talk about, Adele. We love it when Kai Pearce-Paul runs that outline, and he gets a really nice pass away to our centre, Herbert, who just draws and passes, and Skelton does a really good finish. And I don't know, Skelton looked like a first grader out there yesterday, Adele. I know you're probably not a fan of him, and you got him behind a few others within the club, but I think he needs to be in the team, and I don't know why he's been kept out of the team the last couple of weeks, given the amount of first graders we're down.
Well, he's been kept out of the team because Tito and Luke are our wingers ahead of him. I think that's the first thing, that the reason why he hasn't been playing. I mean, that's pretty straightforward from my perspective. Yeah, look, the least of our worries, to be honest, is whether Jarrell Skelton is playing or not. To be honest, I don't think it makes a difference to whether we're winning or losing football games at the moment.
I think it makes a difference, Adele, because if you put him on the wing and then you can put Taruva at centre or Taruva at fullback, you're improving another couple of positions. I think it's something. Look, he had a really good game against North Queensland where he was on the bench, and he played fantastically well when he came on and scored a try and made some huge yardage. I know he had that fatal error against South Sydney. We've had quite a few of those from our guys playing on the wing this year that have cost us 3 games, in my opinion. Macassini, one of them, and Tavana, the other. But I think he can improve our team. I think he does really strong carries. Luke got forced back about 4 times yesterday in the first half. I think there's an argument to say we're a better team with him in it. Will we win games with him there? Probably not. But, I mean, it's not going to be, 46 to whatever it was yesterday.
No, I think I'd rather Tino there in front of him. I think that's because, well, Tino's the best finisher we've got at the club. He's proven that before. He's also forget the Cronulla game. Everybody wants to remember the Cronulla game. He's the best high contest player in the club as well. So he gives us a point of attack. So I definitely prefer Tino in there. But from what I understand, Tino's been injured. I was watching a bit of the New South Wales Cup game this morning. It looks like he's been injured, but how serious that is, I mean, they've got a week off next week, so it depends on how serious that is. But he'd be the guy I actually have in front of there. But look, he's a good depth player and someone we can have to back up. But yeah, that'd be my go at the moment. I'd actually have Tino on the wing with Luke on the other side, and then I'd have Tito at fullback, and I've got a bit of a Smokey at right centre.
Okay, well, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you there, because I know I'm not denying that Tino isn't the best in the club under the high ball, but we saw from the short kick off, we saw from an attacking bomb, Skelton jump over everyone and bring those down. So it's not like he's a mug under the high ball. I think he's probably a better leaper than Luke even under the high ball. Anyway, I'd really like to see him next week. The thing is, given the injuries, he's probably going to be there by default rather than reward. Okay, what else we got? So in the very last couple of minutes, so Madden puts on a really nice ball for Ethan Roberts, who makes a break. During that, Madden pulls his hammy while he's backing up. I think the hammy pull led to Madden doing a little chip kick because his leg was gone. I don't think he had any. He didn't have much leg to put a bomb up, and puts a nice little chip kick for Herbert, who catches the ball and passes inside to Kai Pearce-Paul for a well-deserved final try.
Yeah, I call that a garbage time try. You don't think. But look, at the end of the day, you know what? It's a sign for me that, and I will say this about our squad at the moment: we don't give up. Forget what the scoreboard looks like. I think they keep putting effort in for 80 minutes. They're probably a bit more resilient than some of our fan base at the moment, but that's an argument for another day. But yeah, they didn't give up. That's for sure.
All right. Well, on that, we're going to talk about some players, and I'll add some fuel into that water that you're drinking there. You know what I think they're missing, Adele? I think they're missing some leadership on the field. I think they're missing Appy. They're definitely missing Appy around the ruck. They're missing some leadership around the field. Talk to me about Jerome Luai.
They're missing possession. That's what they're missing. They're missing possession, and they're missing field territory, and they're missing their general. You say, talk to me about Jerome Luai. What am I saying to you? What are we talking about?
I just want to know your thoughts on Jerome Luai's game, how you thought he went yesterday. I think his body language has been down for a fortnight. I know he does a lot of good things, but I just think there's a guy who looks a little bit unhappy. And what are the reasons why?
I'll say this to you, Rob. And I've had this conversation with a few people, including you guys, that people have said to me, "Oh, you shouldn't. When you're an NRL player, you shouldn't be reading social media." But these guys have got families, they got wives, they got kids, they got cousins, they got uncles, they got aunties. And the reality is that quite a few of our fan base, and I'm not talking about everybody, I'm talking about the minority here. Some of the comments, some of the behaviour, and some of the things that we are saying on social media to a guy that's at our club who came to our club off his own back. And I'm going to say these people have got tall poppy syndrome and they're jealous because he's earning a lot of money. And if you're a part of that club and you're bleeding every week and you're playing for that club and you made a big decision a couple of years ago to leave a premiership winning team to come to our club and to be a part of that, and all you've been copying is abuse. And it's the same stuff Jareem copped. Remember before he signed, Jareem was copying it at the start of the year. We seem like at the moment we're an entitled fan base that if you decide to go away from us, people want to treat you with disrespect and want to abuse you on social media. I could only imagine what his inbox looks like. Now, again, people always want to go down the track of, well, don't read it. It's social media. You get paid this much money. You should be able to cop it. No. If people abuse people, they deserve a punch in the throat. That's what they deserve. And if you're going to be one of those people and you're a child, and I'm not going to use the M word because you don't like me using it.
Good.
But if you're going to be that sort of person, you're going to disrespect one of our players. I could understand why that player wants to have that sort of body language because at the end of the day, that guy's a human being. Now, I'm not saying this is the case, but I'm putting myself in his position, seeing all the stuff I'm seeing. I'd be like, screw you guys. That's how I'd think. But then at the same time, you've got your team and you've got your teammates and you've got the people that you play for and the people that employ you, and you've got a job to do. Now, it's very, very clear to me watching him yesterday that he's on one leg. Now, I've read people make comments and say things like, "Well, if you're injured, don't play." But then, if it's a different player and then they play injured, we say, "Look how tough he is, and look what he's willing to put his body through for the team." We pick and choose when we have these opinions about certain players, and at the end of the day, our fan base at the moment is having a crack at Jerome because he decided to make a decision to leave our club in 18 months. In 18 months, not today. And let me tell you, and I know this for a fact now, Rob, our club gave him the blessing to do it. And our club, if anything, is actually really happy with how it works for our salary cap. That's a fact. That's no longer a
I think
speculation.
we can all agree that. We can all agree on that.
So I think what needs to happen, and it's not going to happen because all of these people, they're not morons, they're dickheads. Like, let's be honest. If you're abusing a player, Rob, you can't get upset at me saying that.
I'm not upset at you. I'm just laughing that you said I'm not going to use the M word and you went to a worse word. That's all. Well, I'm just having a laugh.
Yeah, but hang on a sec. I'm not talking about our fans. I'm talking about any rugby league fan. If you abuse players on social media, you're a dickhead. Sorry. Because if it's your child, if it's your son, if it's your brother, if it's your uncle, you want to sit there and defend them. So don't be that people. Don't be that person. But a lot of our fans are being that at the moment. So reality is that's what our situation is at the moment. And as a fan base, we need to be a lot better. In regards to his performance, like I heard you guys a little bit. I was listening to a bit of the podcast. Like, for example, I'll give you how unfair we are and how we judge. Everyone, I think I'm not sure if it was you. You said that we know the Madden Dewey combination works. We know the Dewey Luai combination works.
Yep.
But the Madden Luai one doesn't work. Well, how unfair is that judgment, considering that combination has never had Uppy and Jareem as their hooker and fullback? We only have judged that off the back of Madden and Dewey playing when we had basically a full strength side. So I think we're a little bit unfair in how we're judging everything to do with our football team at the moment, not just Jerome.
They might be judging, but it's actually a fact whether whoever's there or not, Adel. That's the point. I mean, not everyone's there for every week for every team. I watched New Zealand today destroy Brisbane. Okay. They lost Luke Metcalf last year. They thought they never recover from that. They lost Tanner Boyd in the first couple of minutes. They get another halfback out there, and just things run like clockwork. We just seem like we say we've got all these systems in.
Go back, Rob. Go back. Start that again. Start what you just said. I'm going to break it down with you. So say what you just said.
What? Okay. Well, I said Metcalf was their guy. Okay, and then Tanner Boyd came in, and now he was their number one guy because Metcalf's moved off to St George. And then Tanner Boyd's got injured very early in the game today, and it didn't stop New Zealand from continuing. I know they had a lot of help from the referee, and it was all pretty one-sided there, but they still did a job on Brisbane at their home ground.
One player. This is the thing. This is what I'm trying to say to you. We lost Jerome and Jock came in and did his job. That's all he did. Now, we made him the biggest saviour. All he did was his basic job. He didn't make us any better. He just did his basic job. One player was out. And our club showed that we can fill a gap for one player. But when you're talking about your 1, your 7, and your 9, I challenge. And could you imagine Suafalongo, Cameron Munster, and Jerome Hughes were out tomorrow? Actually, no, let's flip that. Could you imagine Dylan Edwards, Nathan Cleary, and we'll say Mitch Kenny were out for Penrith? Do you think they'd win a game?
Yep.
Do you think Penrith would win a game without Dylan Edwards and Nathan Cleary and Mitch Kenny?
You didn't say Isaiah, so I'll say yeah, they could. It'll be harder, but they could. They won a lot of games without Cleary last year or the year before, or maybe both years.
Yeah, and who was the 7 that time?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
His name was Jerome Luai, Rob.
Not last year.
They didn't win many games last year. I think they won no games without Nathan Cleary last year. They barely won any games at all, to be fair. They just scraped in.
Anyway, so what do we do to improve his performance? He's here for another 18 months, mate. Or you just think it's the players around him?
I don't think he's playing bad. That's the thing.
I just think him passing the ball
I think
on a short. I think playing.
I think he's injured. I think he's injured. That's the first thing. Which at the end of the day, there's not an excuse. But I don't think he's playing bad. All our good attack is coming off him.
What do you think we would have said about Tristan Hope passing the ball short side to Taylor May on the last tackle yesterday? We would have crucified him. We would have crucified him. But
exactly the same thing I said. Exactly the same thing I said about Jerome.
What, that he saw something on the short side and he decided to go there and give it to Taylor May?
He saw an indicator that Hamoli was out where they had one marker. What Jerome actually did wrong there, if you're going to take that short side option, he's got to go take off and then use it. He just passed it. But that's because he's injured. That's my theory. Now, I'm not saying that's a fact.
Yeah.
But it's the same as Tristan. If Tristan did that with one marker, I'd be like, good idea, but probably not the time to do it early in the game. And that's exactly what I said about Jerome.
Talk to me about what you thought of Ethan Roberts' game yesterday.
Yeah, good. I like him. I like his aggression. If you expect him to be a superstar in your first game, you're kidding yourself. Let's not try to compare him to anybody else. Let's just let the kid develop and learn. I think physically he showed he's up to it, but to ask him to have a quality 80-minute performance, I think would be unfair.
Okay, Luke Laulii, what do you think of his game yesterday?
Yeah, it was okay. Nothing bad. Nothing. I mean, there was bad. There was a couple of good, but nothing spectacular. His finish was outstanding.
His finish was great. I just thought he couldn't get the ball out of our own end when he was trying to ruck it. He was getting driven back every tackle, poor bloke.
Our tackle won. But again, this is where I challenge the NRL to go back and have a look at how they judged that first tackle and how Manly was spoiling us, really holding on to some of our levers and slowing that play the ball down so that they could jam up on that tackle one. But that won't get looked at.
Tristan Hope.
Yeah, Tristan Hope isn't. Tristan Hope, I feel, mate, he's doing what he can. I mean, the only thing I'd do as a coach is I'd sit there and I'd show how many times Api Korosia goes out a dummy half himself inside the 10. And I guarantee you, Tristan Hope in 2 games has done it more than Api's done the whole year. So I'd sit there and go, Tristan, are you taking the right option? But this is his ceiling. This is what he is. So how can I be critical of him?
Okay, what do you think of Jock Madden's game yesterday?
Again, Jock, this is what Jock is. I mean, he doesn't threaten the line. He's got an okay kicking game, a decent kicking game. But defensively, and I said this to everybody at the start of the year, he's just a spot defender. And I think naturally around him, it means you're going to have to help a little bit more defensively. And once again, this is exactly who Jock is. I mean, I don't know if we expected anything more from him.
Guys I don't often mention, Adel, but I just want your thoughts on their game because they're not really, super important in our team. Fanua Bole?
Yeah, Fanua's tough one. Fanua's issue is consistency at the moment, but I'm going to reserve judgment on him. Something about him is just not right at the moment.
And finally, I want to ask you about Royce Hunt.
Again, Royce is Royce. Good when we're going well and then we're going downhill, but if there's a bit of a challenge, it'd be tough.
All right, we're coming into the bye, Adel. We're not sure who's going to be available for the following round. I know Jock Madden Seems to have done a little bit of a hammy. It looks like Taylor May is going to be out for the year. You've told me Terrell's fine, which is good in terms of that charge. Let's just start from number one, mate. If Buller isn't available, or do you think Buller's going to be available, just give us your 1 to 7.
Well, if Buller's available,
I mean, okay, let's say Buller's not available. I'm just curious. Or is that part of your plan in terms of who you're going to play at right centre or whatever?
No. I mean, my assumption is Buller's not playing. Do you know what I would do, Rob? And
Yep.
this is, and everybody laughs at me what I do, but remember,
I'm
this
not
is the
going to
only
lie.
thing that
You've got more you've got more knowledge and
No, I'm
credentials
just
than any
trying
one
to
of us.
look. I just think you look at the players who are to come. j- It's a hard one because I think when you compare what we're seeing at the moment, it's hard to judge to say Jack Addard can't play because the things we're critical of him about at the moment, well, Heath Mason can't do it anyway. So you
That's
sit
what I
there and
said on clause out.
so you sit there and you go, well, do you take the risk with the kid? My theory is this, Rob. I think we need to take a little bit of pressure off our attack, but we need, and I know you're not going to like this because we tried it last year, but it didn't work. But I think it's a different type of setup. I played Javon Andrews.
At fullback?
No, sorry. Yes, I play him in attack,
Right.
and I'd play Tito in defence at fullback.
With Javon defending on the wing.
No, Javon defends at right centre.
And then who
So he
shifts to the
basically
wing?
defends one
And then what,
position out from where he.
your right centre defends on the wing.
No, you're playing a right winger. So because obviously Herbert's out, so you're picking Tavana or Skelton
Okay.
to
Well,
play right wing.
Tavana's injured, by the way.
Well, yeah, but that's what I said. We don't know how bad his injury is, but you pick one of them to play right wing,
Yeah.
and then Javon will defend at right centre, which isn't as difficult when you defend it at the half position. Normally, it's just one position out, so it kind of makes sense from my perspective. But whether he's had that reps, I mean, we did it with Galvin at the start. You know, Benji's defending at centre a little bit. Benji actually did it growing up. Well, in his younger days, would defend at centre, and then as soon as we get into a good ball attack, you just put Javon sort of as an extra fullback and link up our play a little bit.
Okay, so Andrews at fullback, Taruva on one wing, Luke on another.
No. Taruva at right centre.
Taruva at right centre. Okay, I guess Skelton has to come in now if Tavana's injured, and Luke on another wing. Macassini comes back into the team if he's right. Halves. What are you doing in the halves?
Jock is injured.
He looks injured.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think for me, if he's not injured,
You still stick with him if he's not injured?
I'm not sure, to be honest, Rob. It's a tough one because how long is Adam out for? Has he got another 4 weeks?
His original prognosis was 4 to 6 weeks. I think 4 weeks was pushing it. When did he do it against Cronulla? So that's a fortnight ago. So you're looking at 2 weeks. It'll be 4 weeks when we play Canterbury. So he's not going to be back till another 2 weeks after Canterbury, in my opinion, at least.
I mean, I'm a Latu fan, but if I want to play Latu in the halves, I want to keep him there. And I want to keep him there for an extended period. But it's just a tough one at the moment. I'm just going to back whatever they do. But if Jock's hammy's no good, well, then definitely you're playing Latu in 7.
Okay, and I think what you're saying there though. You want him there for a period of time. If he does play 7, I think he will get that time if he starts there because Adam's not going to be back for a few weeks. So he'll get at least 2 or 3 games in a row there to see what he's got. But it is a hard task when he's been playing as a ball playing lock and, a little bit of half and a little bit of hooker and, a little bit of everywhere really. It's just hard for him to just go into one position and click straight away. But I'd love to see him at half.
Look, I know for a fact Benji's a massive fan of Jock Madden. So I think Benji, as long as he's healthy, Benji will stick with him. I know that Latu trusts Benji as well. So I think that from a perspective of, Latu thinking he's got an opportunity, he's not getting it, all that sort of stuff, I don't think that matters. It's going to be an interesting one. I mean, what I would do is obviously Latu but I would have played Latu at the start of the year. I mean, I'm almost thinking big picture from that perspective, but it all changes now, to be honest.
Do we start sourcing people before June 30, Adele? Like, or does it depend on how many games we win in the next few weeks? Because I think this is a season worth fighting for. Like every season is worth fighting for. We're only 5-5. We've got the bye, so we're going to be on 14 points after next week. We do have a few easy games. We just got to get some troops back, but it'd be a shame to lose a couple of games because we didn't have a decent backup hooker or someone we could, sign for a year and a half at right centre or left edge or whatever you're looking at. Like Samuel is out for a hell of a long time, and boy, do we miss him.
Well, the only way we're going to do that, Rob, is we have to let players go because for two reasons. One, we don't have a roster spot and we don't have cap space. So it's basically we can't do it.
So we're stuck with who we've got for the rest of the year.
Yeah. I privately, that I know there was a couple of players that they were looking to potentially move on if there was an opportunity with other clubs that we had a little bit of position with, but I can't see that. I mean, it might happen. Some clubs may get desperate, towards the middle of June and may look at something like that, but I just can't see it happen. I mean, like I said, there's no cap space. There's no cap space for the next 2 years for us. So, our squad is our squad. If you look at what we've done, I think we've done a really good job squad wise. And when you rebuild a squad, you can't rebuild the whole 30. You can rebuild it sort of a block at a time. And what we're banking on is your Attards, your Javon Andrews, those sort of guys coming through. Look, I'm not sold, to be honest, Rob, on our youngsters at the moment. The only one I think is a 100% first grader is Haywood. I told you that a year ago. I think he's the only one that's set to be a genuine, rock solid, minimum rock solid first grader. I think Javon Andrews has potential with that. Jack Haddard, I'm going to reserve judgment on still. I want to see more from him. I want to see him develop physically in particular. But and the reality is, I mean, Jack Haddard's not going to be staying around with us for a long time because we've got Dureem there anyway. So it's going to be an interesting one.
I think you said on a preview show a week or two, Adele, that you'd only look at giving Haywood limited time if Appy was back. Would you consider having him now that Appy's going to be back next game, putting him on the bench and just letting Hope run around in Cup?
No, I'd wait till Adam's back, Jareem's back, all those guys are back. I'd play Haywood in Cup, which they played yesterday. Keep him in Cup as much as you can. I mean, as long as he's handling it physically. Even if you do that with sort of modified minutes in Cup. And then, towards the back end of the year, if he's comfortable, he's developing, then you sort of look at that. And you can give him a little bit of a dosage here and there, but mate, let me tell you something, Rob. He is all class. He is absolutely the one. I'm sitting there going, yep, that's the one.
No, I agree. Do you think 5 weeks would have been enough for Buller to return? Like that's when we're due to play Canterbury. Do you expect him to play against Canterbury, or do you think he's going to need more time?
I don't know. I mean, everyone handles this differently. At the end of the day, mate, it's all luck as well with this sort of stuff. I mean, I remember telling you before. I mean, I remember 3 or 4 years ago, I think it was Nathan Cleary did the same injury. He come back around round 14, 15, and Penrith knew that if he re-injured it, he was gone for the year, but they took the risk. I mean, that's what you do at the moment. So, we've already been unlucky with one with Taylor. We just got to ride that roller coaster now with Jareem and with Adam as well. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting for sure.
All right, let's just assume he's out then for the Canterbury game. We get no Buller back. Is getting Appy and Alex Twal back enough for us to have to beat Canterbury?
Yeah, absolutely. Appy and Jareem, you said?
No, Appy and Alex Twal. Assuming Jareem's not going to be back.
Ooh, I mean, Appy will make our chances increase so much more. I don't know is the answer, Rob. Like, if Jareem's back 100%, I mean, I've talked about this before, that they're our most two important players, I believe, in our squad. So, yeah, if they're both back, yes, definitely. But if Appy's back on his own, it's sort of, it makes it a little bit easier and our squad looks a little bit better. But, yeah, no guarantee.
And tell me, how do you? I know you don't know what's going inside the mind of Benji Marshall, but What did you think of his press conference? And, what do you think Benji might do as opposed to what you would do yourself?
Not sure. I think that's the evolution of Benji as a coach at the moment. I used to think he was a little bit more predictable, but at the moment I don't think he is. I think he keeps his cards pretty close to his chest at the moment with what he's doing. What I think he has been is a little bit more consistent with certain positions, whereas I think he's a little bit more, willing to be a little bit more scrutinised on performances at different places, in particular our outside backs. I think on the outside backs, he's been a little bit more stricter with what happens there, and he's been a bit more ruthless. Whereas other positions on the field, I think he's been had a little bit more leeway. But yeah, it's a tough one at the moment, that's for sure.
I know the boys or the team basically got a few days off after we beat Canberra because we had quite an extended break before we played Cronulla. Do they go on a break now, Adel, or how does it work? Do they have a few days off? Like, given it's a bye week next week, do you know what their plans would be, or is it back to training as normal next week?
No, you have to give them a break because especially considering we only have 2 buys technically. I mean, you've got to know that the players are going to be bashed for the next period, and then we finish off the season with a pretty tough run as well. The other thing I'll say, Rob, in these last 3 weeks, we've also travelled all 3 games. I mean, I think Magic Round was a home game for us, but the reality is we've played away from home for 3 games in a row, which never helps us. But yeah, it's going to be, the next few weeks is going to be challenging, that's for sure.
All right, mate. Well, I don't think there's anything else I want to ask you. Have you got anything else you want to say, or are you good with all that? You want to call anyone else a moron or a dickhead or anything else?
Yeah, anyone that goes on social media, carries on and abuses people is a dickhead. That's what I'll say.
All right, mate.
Does that mean I'm a dickhead because I'm doing that to people right now?
No, you're not going on social media and doing it. You're just doing it in the worst possible place to do it where they can all hear you at once.
Yeah, good. Hopefully they all pull their heads in, I guess, is the best way to put it.
All right, well, mate, thanks for joining us. Just want to plug a few shows as usual. We're going to be live again on Tuesday. We're going to actually break our preview show into something different this week because we actually don't have a game to preview. So hopefully you join us Tuesday, 5 o'clock for that one. Wednesday, of course, 8:30 from from iChoice, I should say. We'll be doing West Tigers live. The girls are back here at Mic'd Up Studios on Thursday at 5 o'clock, and the West Tigers faithful boys will put out something on Friday. Enjoy your bye week. Don't forget Monday the 25th at Summerhill Hotel. We are having a general NRL trivia night. So please book your table, make a group, invite your mates, especially your Canterbury supporters, those dickheads as Adele would call them. Come out. We should have a really good night at the Summerhill Hotel there. Other than that, look, it's just going to be a really rough ride, guys. I just hope we get some troops back. I think we've got too good a season going to let it fall apart. But, hopefully we get some troops back really quickly and we can have a big charge towards the end of the year. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you on Tuesday.